I realized I said something wrong in the last video. I don't support transgenderedness, but if you've got it, and if you have made a successful transition, and if you fit and look female, you know, I then do support the idea of you going into like a female toilet. I would feel weird if I was in a female toilet and there was someone who technically was female because she didn't have a dick, but she looked male. Is that the right way? I confused that. Yeah, if someone looked male and was in was in a female bathroom, I'd feel a bit like she doesn't belong here, because she's obviously a he, and I would feel not necessarily uncomfortable, but I would feel she belongs in a. I think you belong in the toilet that you most look like. If you most look male, you belong in a male toilet, and if you most look female, you belong in a female toilet. But yes, I don't support transgenderism, but technically I believe in reincarnation, and because of that, I definitely do support it. Why? Because I believe that I'm responsible for turning males into females and females into males. So do I think that a male can become a female? Yes, I do, but you die and then you get reincarnated, and if you're someone who believes that you will never ever be a female, I think there's more likely that you that's a sign that there's a higher chance that you will become female, because the Matrix might start seeing, if you're facing like sexism, and if you think females are not intelligent, you will definitely become a female in your next life, because this is like the Matrix way of punishing you for having these sexist views. If you like being a male because you are masculine and you feel masculine and you want to be masculine, then you'll probably come back as a male, unless you are insulting towards the females. But I think there's I think the Matrix has like designed things so that that it knows which one. But technically, if you've been male like 5 times in a row, I think it'll probably just be natural that you'll become female, because the Matrix will think, right, we need to build up your feminine side. So you know, I think it's good. I like masculine and feminine, and I like males being masculine and females being feminine, but at the same time I do also believe in trans, that the Matrix reincarnates you in the opposite soul if it thinks you're too male or too masculine or too feminine. So it does switch people around until they, but yes, I do kind of like masculine and feminine. But yeah, on the other hand, you shouldn't have to be a male if you really don't want to be a male and you want to change. I have no problem with you getting that, so long as you're not doing it because of a mental illness. I do think some people change only because they're not happy with themselves, and they think that somehow by changing sex they'll make their lives better. So that is the difference. It's supporting trans and recognizing that some people do it for the wrong reasons. That these are two different things, and I don't support it in everyone's case. And to be honest, I think you should just focus on being you. So I actually support the idea of just being you, regardless to what body you have. But yes, anyway, I'll go back to this video.
So you're in your opinion, someone who's against a religion is far right. That's what someone who's against a religion, yeah, is far right. Is that your view?
I think he's trying to understand why journalists keep calling him far right just because he is against Islam. Why are you far right just because you're against Islam? That's the sort of thing that I would like to know, because I have been more left in the past. I think I'm more central, and I'm trying to be on both sides. But when it comes to Islam, I'm 100% against it. And so I think he's trying to understand why journalists would. I don't think he's getting much of an answer. I think she would label him far right just because that's what everyone else does. But yeah, why would she support Islam? I can't understand why anyone keeps why the press keep it supporting Islam and making. I think it genuinely is because they like the idea of God being all powerful, all knowing, all amazing, and they like it so much so that they're going to try and deny that there's anything wrong with Islam. Why? Because if there's something wrong with Islam, it might mean that God isn't all powerful and all amazing and all that. And maybe that's the reason. Or maybe they just don't believe in God, and they just, I don't know. I don't. Do I think this woman believes in God? I don't know. No, I don't think she does, and I think she would rather put the blame of problems on people, maybe, and the ones that are standing out. Actually, I think she's someone who likes to I'm doing an analysing on this woman who I've only seen for like 2 seconds in this video, but I feel like she's just someone who wants to try and keep the peace, and therefore anyone that's trying to speak out against something, or anyone who's trying to stir up trouble, is therefore a bad person. And I think, yes, there is someone who Tommy is stirring up trouble, but so am I. But at the same time, we have to stir up this trouble. Why? Because we need to get rid of this problem of Islam. And we can't control what's going on in the Middle East, but we can if we get rid of Islam. If we get rid of Islam, and if all the countries in the Middle East realize that Islam is a false religion and isn't the truth, and God doesn't control everything that happens, and this is the reason why bad things are happening, because God has no control over the Middle East, because God isn't even welcome in that country, because she wouldn't be allowed in there unless she has a chaperone or something. Like, I'm not going into a country that I'm not safe in, and I'm female. And if they knew that, they would realize that actually God isn't in their country. God isn't making all the decisions that they make in their countries. God isn't responsible for all their books and all their texts and all that stuff. Like, if you actually address the real problem, which is their religion, maybe they'll become more, well, they'll be forced to switch to Christianity or something like that, and then you'll find that the whole world will be far more together, far more similar, and you wouldn't have this divide. But then again, at the same time, you want this divide, because the real problem is that there are way too many people in this world, and there needs to be this divide, because this divide is causing murder, and murder is reducing the population. So that's what I think the real reason is. Something in these people's spirits is keeping them blind for a reason, because they don't want change. The idea that there's Muslims versus Christians and that these people are against each other, and it's causing lots of wars, it's probably there's something probably about it that knows that this needs to happen because there's too many people in the world. But at the same time, letting Islam deal with the overpopulation problem is actually just a way of saying, I don't want anything to do with this overpopulation problem. Let Islam deal with it. The bad radicals, they'll deal with it. I don't know. Because I don't think she actually thinks like that. That's the thing. I think it's her spirit that's thinking. It's like the spirit that's thinking like that, not the people themselves.
Your view as a journalist, an expert journalist, is that your view? Is that your view? Well, what makes me far right? So I don't like Islam. Other than that, what makes me far right? What part of my views fit into the political spectrum of our right? Pro-women's rights? Pro-gay people's rights? Does that make me far right? No. Doesn't fit. So what actually is it? I believe in small government. But what makes me far right? Because you're going to be far right. You just said that, yeah? Because of my views on Islam.
I think a lot of people don't really know what far right is. Like, I don't really know what particularly far right is. It's like everyone wants to have there to be some sort of football pitch, right against left, and yeah, and I don't think that people are thinking. I don't think people are thinking about what right and what left really are. And I think if you changed everyone in the right party or change everyone in the left party, you'd probably find that right and left becomes very different. Because I noticed that there was a difference between right and left in America versus right and left in England. And so it was like, well, if right is right and left is left, then how come the right in England and the left in England seem very different? I think it all just depends on the different types of people and what you want to label right or left. But it's still just the football pitch idea, rather than just being loads of different groups with loads of different ideas.
But if I had views on Christianity, that would make me far right. So you're giving special protection to Islam by labelling anyone. Do you understand why? Just Charlie Kirk got executed, yeah?
So Charlie Kirk was not far right?
Was he?
Because he was...
Do you think he was far right?
He said to be.
Said to be by journalists who know nothing like you. By who? By people. But you tell me, what views did Charlie Kirk hold that made him far right? He believed in the family. Again, I'm not saying Charlie Kirk's far right. You said Charlie Kirk was far right.
No.
I feel like she's just sort of going with what other people are saying. I wonder how many people in the journalisms are like this, It's not just an attack on her. I'm just saying this about general, like how many people would just read something and be like, you know what, that's a story, I like that, I'm going to copy it, I'm going to run with it. And it's almost like if someone else has said it, you've basically allowed yourself to be able to say the same things, because if you start getting attacked for saying it, you can say, well, that person said it, and therefore. So I think journalists seem to have like this sort of copycat kind of mentality. That person said it, so I'm going to repeat it. And I think this is good though, because journalists need to think about the stories that they actually post, and actually, that's what a good journalist is. A good journalist is someone who actually thinks for themselves and actually thinks, I'm going to find a story that no one else has reported, or if they're reporting it on this side, I'm actually going to do my own research and not just hear something that someone else has said and then just copy it and assume that it's right. It's like journalists want to sort of bubble themselves in the same sort of category and all support the same thing, and it's not necessarily the governments. I think Tommy Robinson sometimes thinks that it's the governments that are controlling the journalists. But if the journalists actually just have like a kind of sheep mentality, that they might just be reading one paper and saying, what, I'm going to run with that. I'm going to say this. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to repeat the same things, and rather than have a proper debate about what right and left actually is, and how would you work out or determine who is right and who is left. And to be honest, I think it's very silly to have right and left if a lot of people's views are right on certain subjects and left on others. I think that this right and left thing is something that everyone's been brainwashed into believing, so it's not just journalists.
I don't think, I said some people say.
Some people say, so because some people say, lying, smearing, slandering journalists, who, as we've just established, have no evidence, you've just going to call me far right. I've asked you what makes me far right.
I think he has a lot of anger right now.
About as much research on that as you have on Islam. Jesus, so come on, let's just get this point again, because before you write your article, what makes me far right?
I don't know what I see. You want to.
What makes me far right?
It's interesting how it's supposed to be her interviewing him, but really I feel like he's interviewing her. And I'm curious. I would like to know like why articles are in the same way. Like why are they thinking in higher levels of depth? I think they should think in higher levels of depth.
What makes me far right?
You want to trap me?
Oh, no, I'm not trapping you. No, what makes me far right?
So you co-founded the Defence League? It's not really...
So I co-founded, just so for your information...
Left, right?
As a journalist, so I co-founded the English Defence League. The entire time it was set, I was leader of it.
It said hooligan.
No, listen.
No, it's not
Listen.
Again, that's... I'm sure that English Defence League was a very long time ago, but yeah, it's like people want to just take things from a very long time ago. If you took things that I was saying like 5 years ago, you would see that I was incredibly anti-war and didn't want any of this to happen, and now I'm incredibly war. I've completely changed sides. So to use the argument that you're far right because you were in English Defence League and that's just a bunch of hooligans. I mean, I didn't even know anything about this group and never heard about it before. But hearing about it did definitely remind me of the Five Band. And yeah, I don't know. Ever since I've been seeing Tommy, I was always in the last few days I was thinking I think that I need to have an imaginary boyfriend. And Five Band was always the songs that seemed to come into my head when I was asking who is the angel of the Five Band. That's actually the reason why I found them. I had a session and I was just thinking in my head which band is most likely going to represent the angel of the imaginary boyfriend. And I didn't even know which song it was. I had to look it up. The song that came into my head, I had to actually look up. That first song that I posted, that was the song, or the second one actually, I think it was the second one. One of those songs that I topped for, those were the songs that came into my head when I asked that question, and that's when I started realising that it was. But yeah, I remembered though, I thought that they might have been that years ago. When I was first named them, Angel of the Test, I thought they might have had a different name, but I didn't want to say it back then because I'm trying not to get crazy.
The Scotland Yard, our police force, has a domestic extremism unit. The entire time I led the English Defence League, it was categorised by the experts in Scotland Yard as a centrist organisation. Did you know that the English Defence League had a Jewish division? Did you know that? A gay and lesbian division? A Sikh division? a Hindu division. Does it sound very far right? So the media, again,
I don't think I need to really say this. He's just teaching her things. But yeah, I think a lot of media people don't really do much research into things. But that's the point of his interview. Sometimes the point of interviews is literally just to talk to people and explain your side of things. And yeah, I think that's the difference though between a smart person and a dumb person. A dumb person would go to an interview and just expect all the questions to sort of just answer the questions, whereas an intelligent person, who Tommy is, I feel like he's already kind of thought ahead about what these people are going to say, how they're going to respond, and he's tried to basically counter that by correcting anything that they're not saying, but anything he thinks they might be saying based on past experiences of what other journalists have probably said about him. And I think he's got a lot of rage towards a lot of the articles. I've not experienced any of that because I've had no one talk about me. So I would love to have interviews with people and then afterwards see. I think you learn from experience. If you say things and then people write stuff and what they write turns out to be just a pile of bullshit, I feel like that would prepare you for things that might be said again. And I do that a lot actually. If I'm talking to people, I almost assume that they're going to reject my belief and start saying that I can't be God for this and that and reason. So I try and see ahead of it and try to counter the interview and stuff. But I don't know. I found this interesting, and I think she might learn a lot from this. Let's press stop there.